Last time we talked about one of the biggest challenges founders face: product adoption. Hi everyone, my name is Shuo Chen. I am a former founder, now investing in founders and teaching founders at Berkeley and Stanford. I'm also a board member here at DECODE, the largest founder community co-host across Berkeley and Stanford. By the end of this video, you'll learn how to drive adoption by following these 3 tactics. We walk through tactic 1, raising attention to the problem, helping them quantify the cost of an action, understanding why this is an urgent need that needs to be solved right away, and of course, in doing so, convincing folks why this is the right solution to use. And tactic 2, which is driving the discovery of value as quickly as possible, and then the last tactic 3 being offering choices to reduce resistance. With that in mind, let's move into the next tactic today. The reason why we want to embed trials in existing behaviors as much as possible is to just make it super easy for your users and customers to discover value in your product as quickly as possible. So as a good example of this, if you're trying to sell a new hardware, you want to place that hardware in an environment where they might easily use it. For example, let's say you're trying to sell a new car, then you might want to offer luxury hotel rides with this specific car brand so that whenever people need to travel to and from the hotel, they're able to just try out your new car. If this is another kind of hardware, you just want to make sure to place it where people will actually use it so they can try you out for the very first time in an easy to access kind of way. Or let's say you're trying to sell some sort of hard asset. Let's say you're trying to sell real estate. Then hosting events inside a model unit to help you show off your property is probably a good way to go. If you were selling software, for example, then perhaps you want to make it as easy for people to experience a value from your software as easy as possible, even if they're not already using software. Let's say that I am currently a therapist hosting sessions. Well, as a therapist, I am required by law to take case notes for patients. So I may be recording the session using another piece of hardware, like I already have an audio recorder or I have been recording on my phone. So if I want to embed a trial in my existing behavior, it's just that after I record, I can easily mail off this recording to an email address, and then that's where AI is going to automatically process all the notes and present it beautifully and send it back to me on the software. So I don't have to change my existing behavior for how I'm currently taking notes or how I'm recording these client therapy sessions. Don't have to log into all net new software, and I can just use anything that's embedded in my existing behavior. Or let's say you're selling a different type of software, you could just add a button that's easy to click alongside how other users are already using this particular problem. Let's say that you're trying to build out a specific kind of software to help people generate better prompts. Well, wherever they already are, perhaps it's an email, you add it as a Chrome extension so people can test things out. So all of these are just examples to show you how to potentially embed trials in existing behavior before you ask your users to do a lot more, like downloading net new software, registering for a new account, etc. And all of this is to drive just the delivery of your product and your value to users as soon as possible. So if you're selling some sort of hardware or some sort of software, you want to time-bound this testing. So you want to say, hey, this will be delivered in X number of days, just so that there is that commitment to how quickly your users can drive value. So all of this is around tactic 2 for driving the discovery of value so that you can set and manage expectations clearly for the users by mapping out the effort, money, and time needed before they can see the value, and with a very specific plan and promise of this is all the value that you'll get. And of course, along the way, you want to try to design to reduce friction and embed trials in existing behavior and just deliver value as quickly as you can. So all of that was tactic 2, and that brings us to tactic 3, which is offering choices as much as possible to reduce resistance. Well, why do you want to offer choices to reduce resistance? Generally, people's default is to stick with the status quo, which is to do what they've always done. And that is the top reason why people are going to try to resist change. And so by offering choices, as much as that sounds counterintuitive, that's actually going to help reduce resistance. So let me show you what I mean. So generally speaking, if you're trying to close a user or close a buyer and you're trying to get them to change their behavior and you said, look, change now, there's just naturally a lot of resistance when they're given a directive. But if you instead framed this decision as here are all the options you have on the table, then you've, instead of sitting across from them at the table, you've stood up, walked over to the other side of the table and sat down beside them and said, let's look at this problem together. And that helps reduce this instinctive resistance there to change. So you want to frame all of the decisions that your users have to make as options they have on the table. So one option is to do nothing at all, and these are the pros and cons. Another option is to try out the light version of this product, and here are the pros and cons. And the third option is to try the heavy version of this product, and these are the pros and cons. Now you're sitting on the other side of the table with your user, looking at it from their lens to help them figure out how to make the right decision. This not only reduces their resistance to you coming in as an outsider, but also increases their sense of autonomy of, hey, I'm in the driver's seat, I'm making this decision, and this person is helping me along the way to figure out how to do this, and this person's on my side, which is what any ideal product founder would do. You want to make sure that your product is actually genuinely good for the user. And this is also where you want to offer a menu of options rather than just one singular solution. So this is where some of the early stage founders might say, well, I'm super early, I only have one product. What do you mean by menu of options? Well, this is where you can present things like multiple tiers, features, or approaches, and you can ask your user, well, which feels best? Which fits best given your current circumstances? Which one are you leaning towards? You can ask this question in multiple ways, and this is where you can easily offer more tiers or only offer select features in the lighter tier so that you can help users prioritize between what's important and what is not. This is where you also want to clarify trade-offs. So you shift focus towards comparing which option they're going to choose and selecting which option instead of just thinking about all the reasons to resist all change altogether. So instead of them thinking as, well, hey, my default is to do nothing at all, now they have a suite of different options to be like, well, which option is best for me? Instead of just thinking about, hey, these are all the reasons why I don't want to do anything. And of course, as the founder, you want to avoid rattling off all the reasons to pick one solution or there's the solution. You want to make sure that you see the range of possibilities out there, and you really want to work with the users to help them figure this out. And so in offering this menu of options rather than a singular solution, you can actually really reduce the amount of resistance you get from your users. And of course, in this process, you want to highlight any sort of gaps between their needs and their current actions. So maybe there is something that they need, but they're not currently doing it, so they're not hitting their needs. So as much as you can highlight these gaps, the more you can help usher your users along to getting them to change their behavior accordingly. This is where you can ask guiding questions and just to encourage self-reflection from the users as well. And eventually you'll be able to build a system for how to ask effective guiding questions. Think of this as consultative sales or consultative implementation or product adoption, where you're asking a series of questions to lead people down this path. Of course, this path needs to be genuine and true, of course, right? This is the right thinking framework so that you can help people reason into why there is a certain output that is optimized for them. Eventually, this could even form a spreadsheet or a Google Doc that becomes a shared document across the team where you say, well, we want to ask these sort of questions, and it looks almost like a decision tree depending on how the users answer. Then you ask these follow-up questions, and depending on how they answer, then you advise a certain outcome or you highlight certain pros and cons. So you want to eventually build this out so that you can scale this effort beyond yourself as well. But all of this is around tactic 3, to offer choices to reduce resistance. And to summarize, today we talked about the top 3 tactics for really thinking through how to drive product adoption. Again, you could be in one of 2 categories, like you've already sold the client and now you need all of the users at the company to really adopt your product, or you haven't sold the product, but you want to drive all this adoption in the product so that you have the data to then close this client as a paying customer. But regardless of which path you fall into, you still need to drive product adoption at the end of the day. And today we talked about the 3 tactics for that. One being raising attention to the problem, helping them quantify the cost of an action, understanding why this is an urgent need that needs to be solved right away, and of course, in doing so, convincing folks why this is the right solution to use. And tactic 2, which is driving the discovery of value as quickly as possible, managing expectations so people know how much money, time, and effort is needed in order to see what kind of value be delivered. You want to design this to reduce friction and just design things in people's existing behavior as much as possible so they can see value as quickly as possible. And then the last tactic 3 being offering choices to reduce resistance. So you're framing all the options on the table as all options. And so this decision is just choosing which option, so that people feel like they're working with you, they're choosing from a menu of options, and you're thinking alongside them, not telling them to act a certain way. So with all of that, we've talked about how to hopefully help you tactically drive better product adoption. And if you want to learn more about other traps to avoid in this process or tools you can leverage, please feel free to check out our full newsletter hyperlinked below. And if you have any follow-up questions after today's session, please feel free to comment below or reach out to us on email or LinkedIn, and we'd be more than happy to cover it in a future session. If you found today's video helpful, please don't forget to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with other founder friends of yours in the community so that hopefully this can benefit more people out there. With that, thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to having you tune in to a future session of ours. Take care, and we'll see you in a future week. Bye.